Welcome, travelers, to This Week in Adventures League. I'm Hannah the Lorekeeper, and today I'm here to entertain you with the story of how my Cleric Liana almost died to 4 fireballs in a row. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In our normal Wednesday night ritual, my compatriots and I gathered at our local comic book store to partake in a Tier 3 module called Enemy of My Enemy. It's a CCC module, or Community Created Content, stuff that's made for convention play and may or may not be canon to the main story. Tier 3 is for characters between levels 11 to 16, and because by this point your characters have gotten pretty powerful, the danger, and the rewards, are greatly scaled up. The story begins with the townspeople of Flan getting ready to elect a new ruler for their town that is recovering from the Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign, where their town had been decimated by a dragon cult. And dragons. Lots of those. I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons. It comes with the territory. And meanwhile, during these elections, people in the town have been being affected by something they call the God's Touch, which makes them start ranting, raving, and gaining chaotic powers. One such of these God's Touch townsfolk transformed into a serpent monster in front of our party, which consisted of me playing my cleric sorcerer, Liana Silverkin, a half-orc beastmaster ranger named Amala, a paladin named Sabino, and a dragonborn barbarian fighter named Flick. We took care of the transformed monster with no trouble, but our barbarian and ranger were infected with the touch, exhibiting very sorcery side effects, like levitation and brittle skin. We were called to assist the local law force, the Black Hand, where we found out that many were suffering from this God's Touch in disturbing ways, enlarged heads and jaws, and strange afflictions that magic and holy powers could do nothing against. We were tasked going somewhere that Liana was intimately familiar with, the Sorcerer's Pyramid, which was a previous module she had played through, and I may do an episode recapping it later, but the important thing is that this place is what started Liana on the path to being imbued with magic and becoming a sorcerer, so she was very keen to return to that place and finish off the evil for good. When we arrive at the pyramid, strange orange goo was being pumped into the river, flowing downstream to Flan. Well, that explains the strangeness, and with Liana as the guide having been there before, they went inside and came to a clan of slightly mutated lizard folk, having an argument in front of a couple open portals, one with a tube pumping through orange goo, and the other to a golden room. As Liana approached these lizard folk she had helped before, they took one look at her and started praising her as their savior. It's good to be famous. They mentioned that the Slod, evil toad creatures that can infect others into becoming Slod as well, had returned to the pyramid and set up the portals, as well as good men who tried to fight the Slod but failed. With nowhere to go but out, we went into the portal to find ourselves in Limbo, the plane of chaos, and in a temple of the Githzerai, a yellow-skinned race of psychics that roam the outer planes. These particular Gith's Epoch, their grand leader, fought the Slod but was mortally wounded, and they needed us to stall the Slod while they healed their leader from death's door, because her mind is what keeps the temple intact. We agreed to help, and were given 3 places to investigate: a tower that was floating in limbo that broke off the temple, some sort of airship, and a giant crystal claw where the orange goo tubes were originating from. We started with the airship and came across a gray Slod general, surrounded by blue Slod and wearing a red string of gems around his neck. This general offered us a deal, since he said that his rival general in the tower had the gems that controlled the blue Slod. However, he had the gems that controlled the red Slod that were at the tower, so if one of them tried to move to attack the other, it would be mutual destruction. The general was convinced that his rival had the body of their dying leader, which if a gray Slod were to consume, they would become a death Slod and the new leader. We took the deal, and he gave us a horn to blow when we got his rival's gems, so he could swoop in and finish him off. We leave, and being sly adventurers, then go to the broken tower to find a green Slod there waiting to take us to his master, the rival general. Though suspicious of this green Slod, we agreed to follow and found the rival general, wearing the blue control gems and surrounded by both red Slod and green Slod. We ended up making a similar deal with him, getting a horn and promising to blow it when we got to the other general's gems. Since both generals claimed that the other had the body of their leader, we decided to go back to the airship because we sensed powerful magic earlier in the ship's hull. The first general wasn't going to talk to us, let alone allow us below deck, so Liana gave up one of her precious, hoarded potions, a potion of gaseous form, and let the barbarian drink it. He slipped into the hole with ease to find some strange gem that shifted gravity. Powerful magic, but not the body of a death slod. With this knowledge, and trying to piece together the full story, we set off for our final destination. We then made it to our final point of interest, a giant floating claw made of crystal where the goo was coming from, where we found green slods guarding a giant, bloated red slod, with tubes coming out of his belly being continually pumped into our world. His name was Fug, because that's all he could say. Our barbarian and Fug had a riveting conversation. Many Fugs were given. Eh? It was funny, I promise. We decided to blow both horns and hide out on the thumb of this giant hand to watch both generals tromp up, talk smack, and send their armies at each other, just as we hoped. It was then that the green slod from before revealed his true nature. He was the death slod leader all along! Dun dun dun! And we squared off with him and 3 other actual green slods in a fight to the death. This is when things got crazy. In our initiative rolls for this fight, the death slod rolled a natural 20, going first. Next was the barbarian, then me, then all 3 green slods in a row. I had the plan to run up and use spirit guardians to summon Leona's ancestor to swirl around her and attack all the enemies when it was their start of their turn with some solid damage, knowing that they would be taking their turns right after me. But that did not go as planned. The first slot attacks and takes some damage from my guardian spells, then casts Fireball. Everyone gets caught, and I fail my concentration on my spell, so no more spirits. Second and third slots go. Cast Fireball. I fail both save rolls, take full damage, and Leona's down for the count. Luckily, the paladin was next and used his turn to heal me. For 2 HP, but hey, 2 is better than none, and Leona regained consciousness. Our ranger then performed what was nothing short of a miracle. She got a critical hit with her magical oath bow. How this item works is that you whisper into the bow and make one creature your sworn enemy. It gives you advantage on your attack rolls on that enemy, and when you hit, your damage does an extra 3d6 piercing damage. So a crit with this sworn enemy bonus was enough to knock out 2/3 of the death slod's health. It was pretty amazing. Unfortunately, she was last on the turn order, so next turn was the death slod. Guess what he did? If he answered Fireball, you win! Fireball number 4, and Leona goes down yet again. It's really not a good day for my poor cleric. Thankfully, she was avenged by the barbarian also getting a miracle critical hit, tearing the death slod apart and ending the battle. The Gith then came to our aid to destroy the rest of the slod army after repairing their fortress, and in the end saving the people of Flan from drinking nasty slod goo. Hooray! For our interdimensional efforts, we were rewarded with a wealth of gold, a powerful potion that I had to pass on but for good reason, enough experience to bump me to level 12, and the magic item for the module, a Tome of Understanding that Leona ended up getting, and for the low price of taking 48 hours to read the tome, her wisdom ability score was permanently increased, as well as her maximum wisdom score too. Not a bad way to end Season 7 of Adventures League, and not a bad adventure for this show to debut with. Next week will be the very first game in Season 8, with some new treasure and experience rules. We'll see if it affects the game positively or negatively this week in Adventures League.